Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Double honor to the apostles and elders, great most under the world, and Shalom to the brothers in the right in truth. So this, article, because you've had, back and forth as far as between the U.S. and Russia. Primarily it's been about Ukraine, but you've had the focal point, the least sort of flop, drawing the focus onto the Middle East, and obviously their attack on Iran is that's been a big factor in a lot of things, since, and it's very much drawn everyone's attention to it. So it's on the Washington Free Beacon. Says Russia ready to assist Tehran in refilling uranium stockpiles, foreign minister says. So, what does it say? Russia's foreign minister on Tuesday said that his country is prepared to help Iran replenish its uranium stockpiles, offering Tehran a path to a rebuilt nuclear program in the wake of the US and Israeli campaign to prevent the Islamic Republic from building a bomb. So yeah, they're just straight up saying says is what Moscow is ready to assist Tehran in refilling its depleted uranium stocks. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reportedly said during a meeting with BRICS member nations in Brazil. So yeah, it's he's meeting up with the BRICS, which they're more or less exist as an attempt to counterbalance the influence of what they called of the US, basically the US political sphere, like the US and NATO, and the Iranian nuclear program. That's what's been the justification essentially for these attacks that happen. And Iran was given drones to Russia, to assist it in the Ukraine conquest. So it's that relationship's deepening, and then now it's deepening adversarial to the state of Israel. Because what does it say? Russia has technological solutions for uranium depletion and is ready to work with Iran in this field, Lavrov said in remarks published by Iran's state-controlled media. We have technological capacities and we're ready to offer them, taking the excess of overly enriched uranium and returning the power generation grade uranium to the Islamic Republic and its nuclear facilities. Yeah, because I think you don't need to enrich uranium as much, to weapons grade for if you're just using it for energy. But that's the thing with the original deal. That that's what they were doing. But then state of Israel was still adversarial to them even having that program. And naturally it's become clear the US is just co-signing them men doing whatever the fuck they want to do in the Middle East. So what does it say? The US and Israeli air campaign destroyed Tehran's top nuclear sites, including the mountain bunker at Fordow, and stored much of the country's uranium. Even then, he's saying that, but apparently it's come out as leaked that it's not even slowed down their nuclear program. So as far as the extent to which the influence they're saying, it doesn't seem to be there. And then then it's a thing of they've state of Israel spent that card, and engaging in that kind of warfare with Iran doesn't seem, in the long run anyway, is well, it's gonna get to the point of boots in the ground. That's really where it's getting pushed towards, and it's gonna be the the U.S. But prophecy, man, because key is World War III. But other key prophecy is what's it called? The other key prophecy is the chip, man, the MOTB. So it says Russia's veiled threat to provide Iran with enriched uranium fuel, most of which was eliminated militarily by the US and Israel, would help Tehran restore nuclear weapons breakout capability. And yeah, that's the justification for everything. We don't want Iran getting a bomb. Which they said, going back, it's Iraq's the key example you can look at because of political happenings within that region, and what would have led to waning U.S. influence. They they launched the Iraq invasion, and then it was like 15 years, well, it was 2001, so it would have been like 15 plus years later. Then they said, oh no, actually it was the Saudis that did 9/11. So then it's like, and the justification for the Iraq war was, oh, they got WMDs, and now with the same thing happening yet again. So it's just like but that's how Esau functions, man. It was Isaiah 14, man. The staff is broken. Because why? That he's got that overbearing rule over these different nations, and that's really how he bears his rule, how he justifies it, through force, man, through power. So, non-proliferation expert with Foundation for Defense Democracies told the Washington Free Beacon Washington should enumerate the serious consequences Moscow could face for such an action and be prepared to strike Iran again to prevent reconstitution of the regime's atomic weapons program. Leaders above the US and Israel stated that they are open to further strikes on Iran's nuclear infrastructure should the Islamic Republic attempt to rebuild its program. And that's the thing is, it seems like as well, because of the topography and a lot of that shit's built underground, is they can't necessarily through airstrikes stop the nuclear program, which is why leaks are like minimal damage and whatnot, which is why boots on the ground is likely the only way. And then with Russia being that guard onto them, then it's further escalation. But then with that, it's the winds. It's a matter of the winds, man. They're being held back by the four angels, man. That destruction's being held back because why? Prophecy. But it's something where it's ready to blow over at any time. Ezekiel 38:4 says, I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords. And yes, it's talking about Gog, talking about the Russians, and then that spirit being put back in them, where they had that time they were trying to cozy up to the West, and then that whole spirit got put to an end, and they've been turned back. They've had the hooks put in the drawer. They've been pulled back to that adversarial position. And then once they Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Torgamar of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee. The key one I'm talking about is Persia. The Iranians. And what's it say? And be thou a god unto them. Yeah, be thou a god. That's why you have these relationships being built. That's why they're trying to build their own political structure outside of the U.S. influence of BRICS. And that's why you have Russia saying that they'll drop the enriched uranium for these men, because they're basically providing that shield, providing that guard onto them. And then as well, Joel 3:9, it says, well, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And yeah, that's really what you've had with these nations as well. It's like you go back, even with the Saudis, like they're able to have financial influence. These guys, it's like with boxing, man. These men are basically taking over boxing, because they've got the money to do that. Sports washing, they call it, where they're trying to, build appeal globally by, having all these events, sports events and whatnot going on in their land to make people be like, oh, these guys ain't so bad. But then that's, these men, you go back to like post-World War II, a bunch of these countries weren't even of any kind of note. Iran wasn't any kind of political player. They weren't, people were, when the US was doing the Korea War, they didn't think, okay, no, how's this going to impact Iran? Think about no damn Iran. But then what? These nations that were weak, they've basically gained, the main military capability is them nukes, man. And that's why, the nuclear program is a focal point. That's a focus. And that's where, they're being strengthened. Because this is Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but it shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So yeah, this conflict is going to be with burning and fuel of fire. It's going to be nuclear missiles rather than just at ground level. Man them in trenches, shooting each other with M11, M1 Garans, and Mosin the Gantz and whatnot. I remember them, the World War II guns like that. But now it's or even where AKs, M16s, whatever. It's gonna be one that the focal point, the key point of what exemplifies it is that nuclear capability. Those nukes are gonna fly, man, and that's a big part of a weak nation saying they're strong. India, Pakistan, when they got into conflict, border conflicts, then they're saying what World War III, because why? They're both nuclear nations. So one of them lets it rip, the other one lets it rip, then it's can start a chain reaction. But yeah, I'll leave you there. Shalom.